Technology, business, multimedia, wellness and health, events, reviews, and more. This is Mary Collins from Lifehakx Media, and I have the pleasure of having my co-host, Eva Wisenbeck, back online with us today. Hi, Eva. How are you?
Hello, Mary. I'm very well, thank you. I think today's going to be interesting.
Yes, because another addition to our fantastic critical thinking versus conspiracy theory is now our segment called, which I've been wanting to use this since I was a kid, Sadistic Statistics. Dun, dun, dun. So sadistic statistics I came up with because I hate statistics, first of all. And secondly, I know how they can be manipulated, as Bill Gates pointed out to us, and is doing so. And also, just for the fact that it's like it can be really boring, and if you can have fun with statistics as well, especially if they're sadistic. So, with that, I know today's segment specifically, you want to do
medical metrics.
Medical metrics. Very cool. So I will just point out to our listeners that just in the US alone, so you guys know, that there are in 2019 there were 173,040 deaths according to the injuryfacts.nsc.org, and that was preventable injuries. So we're talking about poisoning, fall, motor vehicle, suffocation, drowning, fire, burn, nature, environment, other specified, transport, and other things that are not in the top 10, which apparently are in 6%. So just so you all know, that's just from stuff you could have prevented, like not being an idiot, So that doesn't include illnesses, pre-existing health conditions, or see you next Tuesday disease, virus. So the big C. Anyway, so speaking of all of that and what subjects we might cover at some point, including, what are your chances of being killed by a cow versus COVID? Go ahead and tell us a bit more about medical metrics.
So
M&Ms.
It's so important. Again, we just need to ask questions. So yeah, I'll explain what I mean by medical metrics. I'm going to do like a little backstory, because I think people need to kind of, like I said, but why is it important? Is this boring? Is this numbers? I don't care. Just give me the pill. I'm happy.
Right.
Yeah. So in America, again, in the US, if we're looking at that, they are now saying that the third leading cause of death after heart disease and cancer is not necessarily even medical error. It's just medical treatment. So prescription medication and treatments. Because even if you take them correctly, they still have side effects and they will impact you.
Right.
And once you're on a cocktail of stuff, there is actually not even any research to show how that impacts you.
That's true. I mean, it tells you, like, if you take one thing for depression, you might feel more depressed and go out and kill someone and have a mass shooting. But it doesn't actually tell you what happens when you combine that with a painkiller or a glass of wine or some, or a bad day. So that's exactly it. And then, speaking of which, also about medical stuff, we're having a situation now in the whole world where you can't actually get in to check up on an ill person, like a neighbor or relative, family member. You actually just have to hope that there's no medical malpractice going on under the disguise or the guise of the see you next Tuesday disease. Right? So that's really worrying. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so actually one more quick thing, because I think there's also, we need to bear in mind, I'm old enough, I've been through the system long enough. We used to have like a family doctor who knew you, who knew your history, who knew your family's history. They treated you as a person. It was completely different. We've gone so far away from that in the last maybe even 40, 50 years, where, you have your 10 minutes and it's like, this is a specific complaint. Oh, here you go. Here's a specific pill for that specific complaint. And I have been in situations where I went with a friend once and I knew what medication he was taking. And this doctor was like, well, for this complaint, you should take this painkiller. And me being me, I'd read up about it and I said, well, I didn't think you should really have that if you were taking this medication.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, oh, I didn't know you were taking that. I'm like, but you have the
Wow.
medical record in front. So it's scary. So you need to advocate for yourself.
Right. And also for people around you. This is the big
Yes.
worrying thing. We're just like, okay, we can't go and visit people in hospital or nursing homes, or care centers. Okay, then we'll just follow the rules. But the problem is that we'll put it down to tiredness on, with the doctors and the medical staff and being overworked as an excuse to mess up things. But at the same time, it's like now more than ever, why are we having so much confusion, like you said, when the documents are right there on the computer screen in bold in front of them? There's really no excuse for so much error because, like you said, third biggest killer is medical malpractice.
Yeah.
Why work harder when you can work smarter and live better? Lifehakx. So Eva, with that, take it away.
Okay, so here comes the words and the numbers. I'm going to try and run through an example. Taking it from the beginning, if you imagine any medical treatment will obviously have gone through a trial, and the trial will produce data as to how effective
Except
it is.
which
is still in trial until 2023.
Right, but just on us.
But just on us.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first thing is we're talking about an event. The word is event. So there's always a definition of that. So that could be like the event is you have a fall. The event could be we're looking at heart attacks, or the event could be you catching see you next Tuesday to see. So they're the events, yeah?
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
So the two metrics, the two key ones, is something called absolute risk and relative risk. And I love the bigger picture. This is why this annoys me so much. Actually, I think I'll just launch straight into the example. I might make it clearer.
Okay.
So this is the simplest maths I could come up with for my little head.
Mm-hmm.
So the event is a fall with a fracture or a fall with a break. Yeah. So we're looking at a group of seniors, and they come up with this new miracle drug that's going to prevent you falling and breaking something.
Okay.
That's the idea. The group size they're trying it on is 100 people. So they always split it into two, because obviously they need a control group.
Mm-hmm.
So in the control group, they're saying if you don't take the medication, if you're in this group of 100 and you're over the age of whatever, you're a senior, then 6 people will have a fall and a break. Bear with me. If you do take the medication, so the other half of the group, only 4 people fell and broke something. So out of 100, if you didn't do anything, 6 people would fall. If you took the medication, 4 people would fall. Yeah. Here's where the interesting bits comes in, because the absolute risk reduction looks at the 6 out of 100 and 4 out of 100. So you got 6% would fall and break if you don't do anything, 4% if you did take the medication. So the absolute risk reduction is 2%. 6 minus 4, 2%.
Yeah. Okay.
Now that doesn't sound amazing, but what a lot of them do is the relative risk reduction. So they ignore that the group is 100, and they only focus on the 6 and the 4. So they're saying, well, we prevented 2, so 6 minus 4, we prevented 2 from having a fall and a break, and 2 out of 6 is 33%.
Wow, I'm already
therefore this drug you have a 33% less chance of having a fall.
Right. So it's
which
all
is true.
Yeah. But not, like, as usual, not taking in the whole picture.
Correct. Critical thinking.
Yeah.
It's just a number.
Yeah. So where do people find the actual legitimate sources when it comes to that? That's the tricky bit, right?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. So your doctor should always talk this through with you, because you cannot give informed consent if you don't have the full picture.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So when you are asking the doctor, you need to say what is the actual out of test percent
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of how
So
many
I think
people.
the easiest way to remember it is like, so the absolute risk reduction
Hmm.
is what does it mean in the big picture? And
Hmm.
as soon as you are using the word relative, you are comparing two groups,
Mm,
but you
the
don't know
big
how big the
picture.
box is.
Okay,
Because,
so relative is the bad word.
right. Well, it's not bad, but you just need more information.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like someone saying, did you cheat on me? Well, it depends relatively or
In absolute terms. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
But let me just to paint this picture a bit more. So I said the group was 100. So I mean this is a complete make believe, but yeah, the
Hmm.
group was 100 seniors. If the
Hmm.
group would have been 1,000 seniors,
Hmm.
the absolute risk reduction, because it would still be 6 and 4, like percentage wise, it would be 0.6 and 0.4. The
Hmm.
absolute risk reduction would be 0.2%, but the
Mm,
relative would stay at 33.
33. Right. Big difference.
Big difference. Yeah,
Wow. So I can't wait for you to put up a blog specifically on this section of how to understand what
I'll
it
try.
means. Yeah, as best as you can.
Yeah,
And what at least what to know, what to ask,
absolutely.
and what to look
That's the
for.
thing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what would you like to specifically go on now that we know what to ask for and not to take relative as gospel?
Mm.
What would you like to use as an example of when looking for stats before choosing something?
Yeah, so again, this is going to be quick, but I thought I'll just run through a few examples to highlight how tricky it is and why we do need to talk to our doctors. Yeah. So I'm going to use
Okay. Hmm.
statin drugs because so many people are on statins. You go in, you have like your yearly MOT or something, you come back, oh, your cholesterol's a little bit high. I'll put you on a statin. Again, nothing
Okay.
necessarily wrong with that, but we need to understand what that means. So I'm going to read two sentences. I love this, and I'll
Hmm.
link to this document as well. So, statins. This drug will decrease your chance of dying by 12%. Sounds quite good.
Hmm.
Same data. Out of the 167 patients that take this pill for the next 4 years, one patient will not die who would have. 166 will get no benefit and might get harmed.
What?
Same data.
Right. That's crazy. That is crazy. So one patient might or will
One
survive,
one will be saved out of 167.
and
And
166 might end up worse off than they started.
yeah. So statins such a good example because statins gives you muscle weaknesses. It can bring on type 2 diabetes, all sorts of issues. So unless you are in a risk category or high risk, it might not be the best treatment for you.
And a perfect example of that actually is with the menopause thing,
Mm,
where, like everyone's on HRT, everyone's on
mm,
HRT. And then a bunch of people were on HRT. And then what ended up happening is that it actually increased women's risk of breast cancer and cervical cancer. And now there's a warning, finally, after I don't know how many years and how many lawsuits, there's a warning that says, if you have no uterus, this might be a great idea. Or, alternatively, you have to be constantly checking to make sure you don't have breast cancer,
yeah,
etc., because the
yeah,
risk is actually quite extreme. Okay, nobody wants to go through menopause and, suffer hot flashes. And there's things that come with menopause like
yeah.
osteoporosis and degeneration in general. But
Mm,
at the same time, cancer.
mm.
So, like, are there ways to strengthen the body through exercise, through core strengthening, through calcium intake or other vitamin intake versus taking a chance with this drug that could literally kill you in a really long, drawn out, painful, and expensive way,
Yeah,
which we know that's what cancer does.
yeah,
So, it's important, people, to know your
yeah,
actual facts.
yeah. So
Cool.
again, I'm going to have to just interject there because that's so
Yeah.
so true.
Mm.
But the other thing with like the hormone replacement therapy is that that study was based on the chemical versions. the synthetic versions, I should call it, of the hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So derived from like horse urine and stuff, the Premarin. And there's bioidentical one. Yeah, there's bioidentical hormones that it's all about kind of how they bind. If you have a 3-prong and a 3-prong, whereas the synthetic don't really work. So yeah, the bioidentical works very differently, but there hasn't been much studies because can't really patent them. But that's a different matter again.
Okay, cool.
Maybe we need a whole other episode on research and funding.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the thing too, right? Research and funding. There are big companies that will actually shut down small companies that are finding cures or better treatments because the other company doesn't want the competition or to lose money in other areas. That's the thing, right?
My God, okay. Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. You got my brain going now.
Yeah, because omezropol, like that's a perfect example. Omezropol, like omezropol, you have to take because of something else that's causing stomach issues. You know, like, but really, aren't there alternatives? Probably, but they're obviously some sort of 2-for-1 package deal with the pharma companies. So anyway, yeah. So with that, go on. What would you like?
I'm going to chuck in another couple of quick examples because again, I just think so that's statin, so that's a pill, so that's maybe more interesting. I'm going to mention one more number actually. So it's so we have absolute risk reduction and we have relative risk reduction, and you need to know what the event is and what's the group and everything. The other one is number needed to treat, so NNTT. So that's kind of where the statin talked about, you need to treat 167 people to save one. So to give another example of that, just because it was one that I could find, because it's not easy. So shingles, which is like I'll call it like the adult version of the chickenpox that you can get when the virus flares again. It can be absolutely horrific and nasty. But for most people, it's like 2 or 3 weeks, rash, itch, and it goes. It's a viral flare. So this is how they put it, and I just think it's interesting how they phrase it. So the number needed to treat, or in this case, the number needed to vaccinate, is you need to treat 60 people over a 3-year period. So like 60 people have the shot over a 3-year period. You prevent 1 case in the over 60s.
Wow. They don't tell you that, do they?
They don't really.
I dread to think what the flu vaccine actually has on odds.
Yeah, so I tried to find the numbers and I just couldn't. So all I can say is that the numbers they're kind of quoting, which is roughly about like 40 to 60% efficacy, is the relative number. But I cannot find anything better.
And that's another reason why everyone should have a printer, because we need to print some of the stuff out so that when they retract it, it doesn't just disappear into the ether. And it's like, we never said that. We never said that. So, crazy. Wow.
Shall I do a slightly, I mean, it's not contentious because it's all out there in the open, but I'm gonna go for the see you next Tuesday one.
Yay.
Because I got tired of people telling me this. So, and I'm going to use the Pfizer vaccine as a BioNTech as an example because I just think it's interesting. So this is the things we need to bear in mind. Yeah. So in the phase 3 trial, that is the latest one they've completed. It's still in trial until 2023. Bear in mind, the group was 40,000 people, which sounds enormous. So a lot of people are saying, well, it was 40,000 people, and it's 95% efficacy. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the group, so you had one group of 20,000 and one group of 20,000. So that's the first. First, you split it in half.
Right.
Then you look at what was the event. And if I'm correct, I think the event was for someone to have a positive PCR test and exhibit 2 or more symptoms. That could be like a fever or a cough or something. Yeah. So that would then trigger an event. They had set a limit or a test that when they had 170 events, they would then kind of stop and draw the data.
Okay.
So we're not talking 40,000 people.
No.
We're talking 170 people. And that gave them, because out of the 170, I'm going to read this, 162 in the unvaccinated group triggered an event, and 8 people in the vaccinated triggered an event. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying we need the information.
Right.
So that's where they got 95% from. 170 people.
And funny that,
And it's relative. It's relative
right.
risk.
And people are like, but this is a conspiracy. Well, then why are France, Italy, and Germany and all these places sort of pausing on a specific vaccine? Why are they pausing? Why they're pausing? Because there's actually studies out there, and I'll add it to your blog, where there's been over 30,000 people in the US alone that have had a reaction.
Yeah.
And the reaction might have been, like you said, like a fever, throwing up, illness, gastro upset, bruising, headaches. But then there are some people that have had strokes.
Yeah, definitely.
Thrombosis.
Yeah.
Blood clots. You know what I mean? There's something going on here, and that's just silenced completely.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but 1 out of 15 or 30 out of 15 million people have had a reaction. Yeah, but how many people actually die from COVID?
Tracked. It's not
and
tracked.
It's not. And then, but hold on a second. So, okay, 1 in 15 million people, but then that sounds amazingly like a lot of people, right? It sounds like, oh, that's nothing. Well, hold on a second. So how many people in the UK actually died of COVID, just COVID by itself? Even if it was 5,000 people, if it was, how many people live in the UK?
68 million.
Oh, so what's the percent? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's the percent? What's the percent of people that have died that might have died? What's the percent of people that might have died simply because they were of the age? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Because we don't live forever.
No.
And this is a fact. What is the average age of people that die in the UK every year? What is the average amount of accidents or just preventable and unpreventable causes of death happen every year? Regardless, people, that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Don't Google unless you're intending to go back 7 pages and look up from 2015, because everything else has been manipulated.
Or maybe use Duck. No, DuckDuckGo. I can't even.
DuckDuckGo. And even that, I think, is being slightly manipulated as well. But just go back a few pages, right? Or go to an actual medical facility and ask to see the stats on the statistics, as sadistic as they are. Look them up, and you may be pleasantly surprised and a bit in quandary of, but hold on, 58 million people die anyway every year, and 48 have died during 2020. This is not actually factual. I'm just making this up. But the point is that
but it is.
There's something.
We need the full picture.
We need the full picture, and we need the full picture, especially when it comes to something like a vaccine.
Yeah.
Because, and a lockdown specifically, because if we don't know how many people actually die, and it turns out that it's the average amount of people or just over the average amount of people, yet next year, there's no businesses, there's no mom and pop shops, there's no small businesses left. There's only corporations.
Yeah.
Owned by foreign, countries. Yeah. Let's just face it, who are now taking up complete residence in the UK, the US, wherever, because of lockdowns that have driven out small businesses, unemployment levels, abuse that's happening to children and elderly and, spouses, etc. The amount of abuse, the amount of neglect that's happening, because we were talking about that. Third biggest cause of death, malpractice, people. That's doctors and hospitals and nurses and stuff that happens while people put their lives in the care of professionals. Oh, we have to do it, right? We have to. We have these people that go to and get an education to be professional doctors and nurses and everything. But just be aware of the full picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ask
before
questions.
Giving up your rights. Yeah. Before giving up your rights and the rights of your children.
Yeah.
And the rights of your right to see your loved ones. The right to breathe air. The right to enjoy life. What on earth is going on, So I went off on a rant. Yeah.
That's fine, because I think, no, but it fits with this. It's so, so important, because it doesn't matter whether it's something tiny, whether it's a case of, oh, do I need a hernia operation, or do I need a statin drug? Do I need this vaccine? It's all based on you and who you are, how old you are, how healthy you are, where you are, what you're going to do, what are the risks, what are the risk reductions. We need to know all of these things. We need to care, because we cannot, it's actually not fair to put it all on a doctor who don't know you. And so they don't know you anymore. You go in and you have 10 minutes.
Yeah. And it's certainly it's unhealthy to put everything down and trust just your government and your media. I mean, when has the media ever lied? When has the government ever messed us over? I mean, like constantly. Constantly.
Absolutely.
So we need to be more sensible at this. And so where would you recommend people go to look up these facts? I mean, I always say PubMed, because PubMed used to publish things that were legitimate,
Definitely. I mean, there's some good websites, but I would actually say the best place is talk to your doctor. So if you're already on medication, next time go and have a review with your doctor and ask them. So I'm gonna run through a little bit. So for me, the things that you kind of can ask is like, so as I said, it's all about you and your risk profile. If you're 80 and you're poorly and you're at risk for a fall or something, then a medication for that might be amazing. But if I'm 40 and quite fit and healthy, it's not going to be a problem. Actually, can I have a rant then? Because I actually just got an email personally addressed to me from a major pharmaceutical or pharmacy rather, major pharmacy in the UK, offering me a pneumonia vaccine. And the stats they listed, or the facts, they were like, this many people get it. 1 in 4 are under the age of, I think, 60, blah, 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 blah. They were like quite frightening. Now, I happen to know my shit, and I went and did some more research. And they're actually, I mean, again, they're not untrue, but they're a little bit sadistic statistics. It's like they've been totally manipulated. Because pneumonia, you can get it if you're under 5, so children can be very vulnerable. But after that, it's really, I mean, 60 if you're immune compromised or poorly, but like 70 or 80, that's when you get it. And the numbers they were quoting were just like, you're actually, and they were offering me like, look, you can get extra points. You get points, but I'm going to scare you to death first. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, they're really manipulative, and that's something
marketing for medical treatments and products. I think that's a slippery slope. America has it horrendously.
Yep, every other commercial. Every other
commercial. And this is the first time I've seen it here. So I had to look it up. I'm going off on a tangent. In the UK, you're not allowed to advertise medication, pills, but you can do vaccines. And I thought that was a weird one, because I kind of thought, why is that different? It's still a medical treatment with risks and benefits. There you go.
And risks, we don't know. We don't know 100% a lot of these risks. We really don't, and people just need to wake up. I read a really great article about why do certain people just trust blindly their governments. And it's like, because they're infants. You're infants. You people that just trust your governments believe the same thing that a baby believes, which is innate in us. It is, right? To when you're a baby, when you're an infant, you do need your parent. You would die otherwise. You need to have someone take care of you. Well, using fear tactics on someone who is quite easy to revert to the infantile mindset, it only takes one little boop, and then they're like running back to mommy and daddy. And mommy and daddy has never been your government. Never.
No, and I mean, particularly now we're talking commercial companies. They're there for a purpose. They're there to give profit to their shareholders. They don't have my health at their heart.
No.
Only I do.
So you've got to fight for your family, for yourself, for your community before it's too late.
Yeah.
So, well, that's wonderful, Eva. And that's only part 1 of our sadistic statistics. right? And people, you can go on to Lifehakx, that's with a K and an X.com, to find out more. Eva as well has Eva Wisenbeck Wellness Coaching. So you can go on her Facebook page and check out and argue with her there.
Yeah.
She will blow you out of the water, but go for it, try.
With kindness.
Yes, with kindness. And Eva, of course, people will be able to go up on Lifehakx and see your wonderful detailed blogs all about this topic, which, is really important because we need to just stop worrying and start thinking for a change. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eva. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Mary. Cheers.
Your life better. Lifehakx. Technology, business, multimedia, wellness and health, events, reviews, and more. Lifehakx. Every Sunday at 7 p.m. Lifehakx. Lifehakx.com. That's with a K and an X on Radio X.